TV, we know, has long been an election battleground. We've got slogans, the attack ads, all the policy promises, and they bombard our screens as all the parties try to win over we voters.
Yep, so let's have something of a trip of nostalgia at the moment by looking at some of the election ads from past campaigns.
On December the 10th, vote Liberal.
That's a quality in a Prime Minister you have to admire.
Think of their leader. If after all this his response was,
What are people going on about?
sorry, it's just not good.
I reckon the Liberals are pretending they'll protect the environment so they can sell off Telstra. What's to stop them?
My vote will.
A smarter way, a new way.
It's a lemon. Kevin O'Lemon.
Authorised beat up man Liberal vote Canberra.
Quite like that montage. What about that shot of John Newcombe? And 1 week into our campaign, the ad war, is in full flight.
It certainly is. Advertising expert Carolyn Miller and political strategist Bruce Hawker join us now, watching on with interest, no doubt, at those ads passed.
Indeed.
So, as soon as the campaign gun started on Sunday, we saw the ads pretty much hit the TV screens, the radios and the newspapers as well. The major ads were launched, but interestingly, both parties starred Bill Shorten. Before we talk about it, let's have a look at some of the ads. First, Labor's.
Labor will have 100 positive policies. We'll keep weekend penalty rates, make multinationals pay their fair share of tax, stop $100,000 university degrees. We'll make health number one, protecting Medicare. And Labor's Your Child, Our Future will mean every child at every school gets more individual attention. But 100 positive policies can't fit into one ad, so they'll all be right here. Bill Shorten and Labor will put people first.
Bruce, does it work? I mean, really?
Well, this one, I think, is all about Bill presenting himself as a Prime Minister, the alternative, and that's why I think he's going positive. That ad will give people a pretty good feel about him, and it touches on the main issues that Labor's going to be running with. It won't be the ad you'll see at the end of the campaign, though, I can tell you that.
What do you reckon, Carolyn?
I actually think, I really like where Labor's gone with this, actually, and then coming out with the positive policies is a really clear statement that anyone can hang their hat on. They understand that Labor's looking for something positive for the future. So, I mean, all the other content of that, about what that means individually in that ad, you don't really remember. But what you take away is, oh, yeah, it's positive things, it's not going to be taking away, and because it's Labor, people kind of understand there's a welfare element of looking after, the common people as much as the elite, which is where Malcolm Turnbull seems to fit a little bit more closely.
And the ads from the Liberal campaign also featured Bill Shorten, but not so much in a positive light. Let's take a look.
I think lowering company tax would have been a good way to help.
It is not the right time for corporate tax cuts.
A deficit tax, which should be renamed a deceit tax.
If they were keeping the temporary deficit levy, I bet you'd be saying, oh, look at them, they've broken a promise.
Well, no, in this case, if they did that, they'd receive our support.
All the income brackets in terms of tax should be lowered, and that obviously includes the top rate.
I am a great admirer of our Prime Minister Julia Gillard. I have supported her loyally for 3 years, therefore I shall be supporting Kevin Rudd tonight.
As you mentioned there, they're totally different. One party's bigging themselves up, the other is going right after the enemy.
They even brought out the silly dance. No holds barred.
Do you know what, though? That dad dancing is not anything against Bill Shorten. That's not going to hold him back. Exactly. Well, people kind of love that.
Yeah, well, that's sort of what you were referring to just in that last question about how ads usually change as the campaign goes on. But,
Indeed.
But that one, from the coalition point of view, has just gone right after the enemy from the get-go.
Yeah, they've come out swinging, and that's a little different to what you often see in a campaign. Normally it is setting the scene, as you saw with the first one, but this one, they're really trying to knock him out of the park. I think there's a little bit too much complexity in the ad for most people. It'll be hard for them to follow all the arguments about the flipping and the flopping.
And a lot of historical vision too. I mean,
it's a bit old.
It is quite
old. Who was
old,
that fat guy?
Yeah, exactly, right.
Was that Bill Shorten?
I think that's a really odd start to a political campaign, personally, because generally speaking, you want to start your platform of what you're going to do, not what's wrong with the other guy. So it's a really really, for me, I think it was a really misstep, if you like.
Too
from the
negative.
Liberals. Yeah, absolutely, to come in and say, we're not telling you what we're about, we're just telling you what's wrong with them.
Yeah, but as you said, I think we've got 8 weeks of this.
Oh, yeah.
The ads are going to change, you think, over the course of the campaign?
Oh, there'll be a lot of changes. Labor will go negative at some stage. In fact, most of the ads we're going to see will have a large negative element to them. And they'll end up spending perhaps $50 million.
I disagree. I don't think Labor will have negative ads as such coming through. I reckon that because if you have a look at it, negative PR works a lot better than negative advertising. If you're running a positive campaign, you actually want the negative stories to be through the press. I think if you're running a positive campaign and come out with negative ads, that's an interesting dichotomy to come from.
I've never been in a campaign, and I've done about 40 where there hasn't been a negative ad being run by Labor or the Liberal Party. It'll happen, I think. We should talk about this at the end of the campaign.
Yeah,
and see how
we'll book you in.
Who's right?
We'll book you in.
But you were a strategist for Kevin Rudd's campaigns. I mean, how would you do it any differently this time around?
For Bill?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I would be opening with that sort of a campaign to give him that prime ministerial impression.
So you would do what he's done?
But then I think would go pretty hard against Turnbull and division inside the Liberal Party and the budget and so forth. There's a lot that Labor can do in that space. The disappointment that people might be feeling about Turnbull. Is he really the Prime Minister they thought they were going to get? I think that's grist for the mill for Labor in this campaign.
Social media is obviously changing the way that we campaign entirely, and we've seen a really interesting ploy by Sam Dastyari this week. Take a look. It can speak for itself. Have a look.
What do we know about multinational tax avoidance? Nothing. Do you want me to show you how it works? OK, this is my friend Australia. You have some lollies and you have some lollies. When we want to help our friend Australia, what should we do?
Put some in.
Why is that? Is that sharing?
Yeah.
Should we share? But some people want to really share and some people just want to pretend they're sharing. Is that nice when you pretend to share?
No.
Why?
Because it's not real.
It's not real? OK. Why don't we share our lollies with Australia? Why don't we both put a lolly in for Australia? Put another lolly in for Australia.
Geez, gotten a bit shorter, Sam Dastyari, over the years, hasn't he?
It's
a bit weird, but it's nice to have a different approach than the standard ad.
That's right.
I honestly think, though, if you are interested in politics, this will just irritate the hell out of you. This is trying to appeal to people...
But you watched it, though. We were all watching it.
This will appeal to people who have zero interest in politics, and it's trying to get them into the idea
But that's a lot of people.
Yeah,
I know.
Well, that's true. It is.
But I think that the idea of simplifying tax avoidance...
With some kids and lollies.
But that's what social media is about, is engagement. So it's really interesting to watch how these platforms are going to play out in this election. Facebook actually now internationally has a dedicated political team. So they help elections and campaigners figure out how to best use both Facebook targeting and all of the kind of the data that they've got to be able to get messages at times that really suit their audiences. So.
And interesting that in the US, we've seen that Donald Trump hasn't been using any political ads. He's been relying on this sort of cut-through on social media.
So far, yeah, so far, because he's such a big character, he can do the free-to-air stuff, and he's basically been financing his own campaign.
Well, he's got
that
money
will
to do it.
change
Yeah.
in the course of the election. They'll use a lot of Facebook, like Obama did, to build that base.
Do you believe that now, you mentioned social media, that we've gotten to the point where the old humble TV ad is not as effective as it is online?
It's not as effective because people can engage online. So it's not to say it doesn't have a role. I fundamentally believe in TV advertising. When people are watching it and it feels really big in your home, it actually feels like, oh, I can go and explore this. The idea of double screening, though, so seeing an ad on TV and then being able to go and look online and explore further is actually, a big part of it.
But now you can have like a meme, that can get, thousands of shares or likes and can be just as
Text
effective.
from Hillary.
And it will definitely change as time goes by. Like the last Democrat ads campaign in the US, I think 15% was basically Facebook and social media. It'll be much greater than that this time. It will change over time, but still overwhelmingly in this campaign, the advertising spend will be on television.
We like it, though, the networks. Thank you very much.
It's good for us.
Cha-ching! We need it.
The one thing I do want to say, though, is that social media, politicians are absolutely missing a trick and not being involved in LinkedIn. So I don't understand why none of our political leaders have made any effort to get involved in LinkedIn. It's a perfect space to talk tax and to talk personal benefits, and no one's utilising it.
OK.
So
we're booking you in for during the course of the campaign to do a bit of a summary at the end.
Absolutely.
OK, clear the diary.
Look forward to it.
Bruce Hawker, Carolyn Miller, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Natalia.